In the past, women in professional life have been very uncommon, especially in leading positions. However, during the last decades, working women have become a matter of course. Also, the majority of university graduates are women. However, in the professional world, their salaries are often lower compared to men's salary, and their career opportunities are often limited. Women in leadership positions, especially in boards, are still an exception from the rule, which can also be seen in this statistic. The statistic shows the percentage of the 100 and 200 largest companies in Germany without any woman in the board over a time period from 2006 to 2017. You can see that in 2006, 95.4% of the 200 largest companies had no woman in the board. The number is even increasing when looking at the top 100 companies in Germany. 99% of all companies had no woman in the board. When looking at this from a different angle, it means that in only one of the 100 companies women were accepted in the management board. Over the years, the proportion of companies without women in the board has decreased to 68.5% for the top 200 companies and 61.2% for the top 100 companies. However, in more than half of the companies, there was still no room for women in the board. Gender inequality in boards has not only been observed in Germany, but in countries all over the world. When looking at this statistic, it can be seen that Norway, with a percentage of 38.7%, is the leading country in Europe when it comes to women in top management positions. It is followed by Sweden and France. In order to balance the male-female ratio on boards, experts developed different tools that should increase gender equality in businesses. One of these tools is the so-called gender quota. Norway was one of the first countries to implement the gender quota back in 2006. The government enjoined that a minimum of 40% of board members must be women. With a percentage of 22.6, Germany is only ranked number 10 when looking at the proportion of women in boards in European countries. After years of constant discussion, the country decided to also implement a gender quota of 30% in May 2015. But why did it take so long to implement the gender quota? Doesn't it seem to be the perfect solution to the problem? In order to understand the difficulties that are associated with the gender quota, we asked some students about their general opinion on the issue.
Well, to be honest, I think the idea behind it is good, but I don't really believe it is as effective as everyone hoped it would be.
My general opinion about the gender quota is, on the one hand, that it's a good opportunity for women to go into a company and have a leading position, but on the other hand, I think that if there's a male, it's better to have him if he has better capabilities and his performance would be better than having a woman inside the company.
It's a difficult topic. I personally believe that people who are getting in those very high management positions are those who are doing outstanding performance. For me, performance is gender independent. Therefore, I believe that the women's quota is not the right way to put more women into those powerful positions.
What we saw from the interviews is that the majority of students thought that whether or not a person should become a board member should be determined by their prior performance and qualification and not by their gender. Some researchers argued that gender quotas hinder the efforts towards board performance. Quotas bypass competitive processes and in turn sideline the merit principle that ensures the best person for the job. Moreover, they point out the importance of competence-based selection, as nobody wants to be in a situation where female differences in the boardroom are due to lesser qualifications and less ability, which could in turn devalue women's achievement. We also asked an expert about the effect of the gender quota on company performance. Professor Miriam Bechtold is a certified psychologist and professor for leadership at EBS University.
There are mixed findings. So, for example, in Norway, we've had female quota for listed companies since 2005. So companies were forced to introduce a 40% female quota for all 600 listed companies. And we could see that first, the qualification level of board members decreased slightly because there weren't just enough women to fill all these positions. They were also slightly younger than the male board members. That was another issue. And there was evidence that short-term performance of these companies declined. Women increase monitoring behaviors. So you might say they are more diligent and pay attention to legislation and rules and make sure there is, they make sure that boards play to the rules. And that has an impact on firm performance. So women seem to be more careful, less risk-taking, and that may have a positive impact on firm performance when things are not going really well.
What we learned from our expert is that the gender quota has a negative effect on company performance in the short term. This is due to the fact that women will need to adjust in order to fitting in with the culture of the board and also need to modify their approaches to deal with the new situation. This, of course, will take some time until they are able to contribute. Moreover, in the beginning, there might be high resistance of male members of the board as they simply are afraid to lose their positions and also may have prejudices against women. Women have to work really hard in order to be accepted, so this process will take some time and will also complicate actions and decisions of the board, what might then affect board performance in a negative way. However, at a later stage, especially in crisis situations, the new women in the board can also increase company performance. This is because women in general are more empathetic and caring, what might be a huge advantage in crisis situations where there's high uncertainty. Moreover, they will definitely look at the problem from a different angle than men will do. Therefore, there will be more and also more different approaches to tackle the problem so that it can be solved quicker and more effective. Now that we have looked at the gender quota, its effectiveness and its impact on company performance in more detail, we are now going to have some deeper insights into whether women see the gender quota as pulling or pushing. In order to find out, we again asked some students for their opinion.
Okay, overall, I would say it pushes people more into those positions because if you're a good performing and hardworking woman, you will get there anyways, and a women's quota will only push some people in there who are maybe not the top-notch performers or who don't want to be in those positions anyway. So for my understanding, the push side overweighs the pull side a little bit.
I could definitely see women being forced sort of or pushed into board positions as this quota has to be fulfilled. So there is sort of a need to fill those spots.
Students tend to see more its negative side. They argue that the quota forces women who are not qualified or simply do not want to become a board member into the positions. Whether or not women feel forced into board positions also depends on the industry. As this statistic shows, there are huge differences in the proportion of women working in different industries. On the one hand, industries such as healthcare and sales are more female-dominated. On the other hand, industries such as agriculture, computer science, engineering, and construction are clearly dominated by men. If we're looking at the construction industry, only 1.5% of all people working in that industries are women. Due to the small number of women, the question comes up whether a gender quota can be implemented in a fair and effective way for the construction industry. We passed this question on to our expert, and she came up with a quite simple solution to the strongly discussed problem.
That's definitely an issue, but at least the quota could say we should have a proportionate number of women on the boards as we have on lower levels of the company. So if 20% of all IT people are women, we should make sure that 20% of the top managers in that company are women. So relate these numbers. Yeah, don't say it must be 40% in each company, but make sure that there is a proportionate number of women on all levels of the company. I think that.
As our prior result on whether the gender quota pushes or pulls women had a strong tendency towards one side, we also asked our expert about her opinion.
Well, it would push companies to promote women. That's the first thing. So I think no woman would be forced to take on the top management position, but companies would be pushed to make sure their pipeline is filled. So they have to make sure they have enough women who could potentially take on these positions. That would be a good thing. I think for women, the pull factors would be stronger because, first of all, they would have female role models. All of a sudden, there would be women on boards and it would become natural, to try to achieve the same. That's one thing.
Companies have to ensure that they have enough women at the base of the company. When this basis of qualified women is guaranteed, these women can then be developed further and further until they reach management levels. Companies should offer special mentoring for women and also increase business opportunities for mother by, for example, having kindergarten or a possibility to work from home. Once companies invest more into their female employees, women will feel more comfortable and will also see the gender quota as an opportunity to become a board member.